Hey guys, it's Kurokku here, and I'm going to be starting off a series, just a scripting series, alright? And here I am in my studio, right? Well, I like to start off with a nice old handy dandy green grass base plate, yeah. So, what I like to start off whenever I make a new game, I like to start off turning filtering enabled on, because I don't want exploiters messing with my stuff. Now, filtering enabled, we'll get into what that exactly is when I do a remote event tutorial on what remote events are and what remote functions are. Just remotes in general. So I'll be making a video on that some other time in the future, right? Anyways, what I want to do today is teach you guys what the studio is, right? Because honestly, Roblox is much harder. With any coding language, it's much harder to learn without knowing what the API is, right? So I think it's best if we start off with the basics here and just talk about what everything is. Alright? So this is an output box, right? An output box is pretty much something that returns errors or prints or notifications of, like, if studio is saved or stuff like that. Pretty much just anything. So if we were to do a print and do like LOL, it'll print LOL, right? So that's what an output box is. Because here's where things can get a bit more interesting. What if I did print wrong? See how it has that little line? That means it's just unknown. It doesn't know what a print is. Well, it's going to return an error. It's going to say, in the local script, attempt to index print a known value. Which means that print is not a function, so it can't index it as a real function. Anyways, we'll get into that in another video as well, but that's basically what an output box is. It's just really useful when you're debugging. And if you don't know what debugging means like just plain old testing. It's just a fancier way of saying it if you really care enough. But yeah, that's what an output box is. Team create thing, that's really not important. You really don't need to worry about that. That's not important for developing. Unless you really want to add a friend to your team create, you can like search up someone's name in there and then just add them like that. And then it'll allow them to work in studio with you. Game right here, you really don't need to worry about this. Honestly, it's just a lazy person's way of doing things. Like you can edit products and add developer products through the site easily. Just some basic stuff. And then you can like copy the ID of the place and stuff like that. It's pretty much just a lazy person's way of doing things when you're in studio. Cause honestly, when I add a developer product, I don't want to go on the site and copy the IDs each time. And most of you guys don't really know what a developer product is. But if you do, congratulations, you're already a bit ahead. Anyways, we don't need to worry about that. The game, you don't really need to worry about. Team create, you don't really need to worry about. But what you do need to worry about is the output box, because that is going to save your butt in the future. Because you don't want to be that one kid who asks and bothers other people repeatedly, asking them why a code doesn't work without even checking if there's any errors because you don't have an output box open. This is really important, and honestly, I really like my layout right here where I have the output box here, team create box here, game box here, explorer properties right there. Kind of helps. And we got our command bar down here. The command bar allows you to run like simple code, just basic stuff like that. Nothing too important. It'll be useful in the future when you're more advanced with doing stuff, but here's where the juicy stuff starts coming in. Now we have an explorer here. What's an explorer? The explorer is actually, it's everything. It's just everything. So, in other words, the Explorer is the game, alright? So replace Explorer with game. Just think of this being the game, right? And you see most people do like game.workspace or something like that. Workspace. Something like that. That means they are doing the game, which is the Explorer. So it's the same thing as saying like explorer.workspace, but there's no such thing as Explorer. So that doesn't really work. You would get an error. So we do game.workspace, which is an actual thing. So we do game. This is the game right here. And then workspace is a service. So if for you guys who don't know what a service is, workspace is a service. Players is a service. Lightning. Why did I say lightning? Lighting is a service. Network client is a service. All of these are services. And Roblox doesn't really like to put all the services up there, but there's a way ton more over here. That was, I don't even think that was correct grammar, but yeah, there's a lot of services in the game. And you can actually find that out by going onto the wiki. And yes, for those who think that the wiki doesn't help you with anything, I know that's what I was like back then when I was a good old noob at coding. Yeah, the wiki is my life and savior, right? Okay, well, see, there's a badge service, and I don't even think there is a badge service here. Yeah, see? So that's already one of the hidden services. And I know for a fact that HTTP service is not there, and HTTP service is actually very important, and I'm kind of a little bit ticked that they removed that service visually from here. But yeah, anyways, HTTP service is a service. You guys get the gist. There's way more than just these services here. But yeah, these are services. Just remember that. These are services, okay? These are objects inside the services. Each service has an object. So most people just say they're objects. Roblox likes to classify them as instances. They're all the same thing. You really just need to remember that the things inside services are typically objects or instances. Alright? So these are objects and instances. So the base plate is an instance, right? So I'm not going to confuse you guys. I'm just going to call everything an instance rather than going between calling them objects and instances. But if I occasionally say they're an object, just remember that they're an instance. They're both the same things. It's potato potato. But anyways, this is an instance right here. The base plate is an instance. This is a brick color. And this is where things are changing now. Now that we know what the Explorer is, right? And what the instances are inside every single service. Services can also have many different instances in here, right? Okay? So you can put anything in replicated storage, but really I don't want to go into too much detail about like what each service does and why you should be putting things in server script service and things in replicated storage and things in server storage and things in starter GUI and starter pack, etc., etc. I really don't want to get into that because those are videos alone of themselves, just like explaining what server script services and replicated storage is. Like, those are just videos of their own. But workspace is pretty important because if you want a part to show up in the game, you want it to be in the workspace. Because if you put a part in the server storage, right? If I were to put like a mesh part in the server storage, I wouldn't see it because it's not in the workspace. But if I put it in the workspace, there it is. Voila, there's a part. See it? Beautiful. So now we're moving on to our properties tab. If you don't have anything selected, the properties is going to be blank. In the workspace, if I click it, there's a whole bunch of properties. So, like I said, filtering enabled should be enabled if you want your game to be protected by exploiters and you want people to actually play your game. So I think Roblox made a thing where people under the age of 13 can't play a non-filtering enabled game anymore. So yeah, make sure your game's filtering enabled. I'll make a video on events. Don't worry about those. But yeah, properties. So brick color is a property, right? So if I were to select it, you get a whole palette of just colors right here. And see how I'm just messing with it and the colors changing on my screen there? I'm changing the brick color. So that's what a brick color is. Color is a new thing. It's more precise. You can do way more precise coloring now, and I'm so glad Roblox added that as a thing. Material, you can change the material of what it is. So I'm gonna go back to grass. That is glass, which is new. Ooh, I thought glass was a terrain material. Alright, I'm gonna get mixed up with these guys a lot. That's gonna bother me a bit. Naming is pretty important, because if I were to make 2 different base plates and I wanted to get this base plate with a script, it could potentially get this base plate, which is very annoying. So you always want to make sure that no one thing is named the same, right? Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of problems in your code, and it's not going to return an error because it is indexing one of the base plates when there are 2 of the same ones, which can really mess up your code. But we'll get into like errors in another video. Like, I'll explain every single error possible that I can explain. Ooh, sorry about that. Yeah, so I'll definitely explain what errors are and which error is which, because I think understanding what errors are really helps you with coding, because then you'll actually understand why things don't work. And by understanding why things don't work can actually help you understand how to make things work more efficiently, even because you understand why it doesn't work, which also helps you from making the mistakes. And I like to say, learn from your mistakes. I know everyone says that, yeah, but really, in reality, you really need to learn from your mistakes. I know when I started coding, I was crap. I was really bad. I was horrible at coding, right? I'd make mistakes all the time. I'd be asking people for help. I would free model stuff and look at the free model code and see how they're doing it, but then I would look in the free model code and I'd just get confused. I wouldn't understand what I'm doing, because I'd be like, what is all these different functions, and why are they there? And I don't understand any of this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And then I kept asking people for help, and then each different person would keep helping me, and they'd be telling me, oh hey, you need to do this instead. And I somewhat actually got a lot of help from people, but I really would refrain from asking people for help because it can kind of annoy them a bit. But if they're willing to help you, then by all means let them help you, because honestly, that's how I learned. I learned from free modeling, YouTube videos, getting help from people. And then I started learning more advanced things by going on the wiki, talking to other developers, and learning how they're doing certain things, and how, yeah. You really just need to know the basics first. So, where was I? Yeah. So these are what properties are. And, yeah, those are properties. So, we pretty much covered all the things here. Any other thing like context help, find results, tutorial, script recovery, all these things. Like, there's a chat thing for if you're in Team Create and you want to chat in here, but let's be honest, guys. I really don't like how Roblox tags everything. And in here, the chat is really buggy. I would recommend you don't use this chat. Discord is your friend. Anyways, toolbox, you can upload models, like if you have your own models, like I think my models right here, you can upload models and use models. But I'm sure if you're watching this, you're quite used to free modeling because you were once a free modeler, or you are free modeling but you do want to learn how to code. But I know most of you guys really don't like watching videos that don't involve any coding, but please, you really need to know how the API works. Anyways, this is a select button. You can select things. The base plate is locked. locked is a property. If I unlock it, I can select it. See? But if I lock it, my mouse can't select it. I can't even hover over it like that. If I added a part above it, I can select that part, but I can't select the base plate. Right? Anyways, there is also adding parts. Like, you can add parts like that as well. You can press the play button, you can play games. This is the lazy man's way of doing materials. Like, if you have a part selected like this, and then you have a material thing here, you can go into materials and you can change it to wood, and it'll change whatever you selected to wood. Yeah. So that's that. Same with color. Toolbox is also the same thing. The lazy man's way of just opening it rather than right clicking and finding the toolbox here. That opens that up. Lock is a property. You can group objects by selecting it. You can group it. Groups I'll explain later on as well. Don't worry about constraints and all of that. Constraints are a bit confusing to actually go over and explain, but collisions, usually typically for most users it's turned on. I like to turn it off because if I don't, watch, I can move it through this part, right? But if I had collisions turned on, I can't move it through the part, which bothers me a lot. But for some people, it's more precise, right? Because if they want to move a part down, they don't have to worry about it going through the part and then going like super close up and then like looking like, is it gonna go through? And then you wait and then you're like, oh, perfect. Yeah, with collisions on it, you don't have to do that. But I keep it off and I do it the hard way. I don't know why I do it, but I do. Same thing, rotation. Basically, when you rotate a part, you can rotate a part like that. Scale is when you can scale a part, right? In the model, there is a rotate thing. So this rotates by 15 degrees, which means that 15-degree rotation, 15-degree rotation, 15-degree rotation, 15-degree rotation, 15 degree, etc. Yeah. You can spawn effects. You can spawn spawns. Advanced objects is just the advanced objects thing, which you don't need to worry about because you pretty much spawn anything in by right-clicking here. And since Roblox added a new thing like this, you can actually add way more things. This is like the new advanced objects tab, I think. You can actually search stuff now as well, which I really like. I don't really use it because I'm so used to right-clicking and then going insert object and just looking through here. But yeah. Terrain. I really don't use terrain, but some people really do like building with terrain. Me, I personally don't like that. If you just saw how I just deleted that, I just pressed Control Z on my keyboard and it undid it. Same thing as pressing these guys, and it even says the actual things. You can do Control Z or Alt backspace. And I don't do redo. Like, I don't do the thing for redo, nor do I think anyone else does. If you do, post in the comments. You're weird. Just kidding. But yeah. Anyways, in the test thing, there's an emulator mode, and that's really helpful for making like games compatible for the phone, for the tablet, for anything, right? Physical size, the actual resolution. You can also flip it. But yeah, it's really useful. Mute can mute the audio. Physics. I've never really messed with the physics stuff. Run script. You can run scripts from your thing. Plugins. I use a lot of plugins. Not a lot, but really when I'm working with UIs, I just use a GUI positioner thing. And you guys I'll go over this and I'll link you guys the plugin, but that's when I go into GUI making, because that is a whole other video on its own. Load character, it's useful. You don't really need to know what plugins are for now. I really don't. recommend you using plugins to make your games. Like, if you're using plugins, you're using it like how I'm using it, where you're just lazy and you really don't want to do the math and like find out what position you need to do. Yeah, like I don't really even worry about, like, I kind of just get the gist of where I want my UI. Yeah. Animation editor is always helpful for me because if you want to make animations, that's also there. But that's pretty much the basics of the Roblox API. There's really not much to it. They make it as easy as possible, but I mean, when you're making a game, you gotta have a lot of stuff here, so you kind of have to have a lot of stuff. So it may be a very overwhelming, but it's really not. It's really just not. Just show details. I really don't care about that, but we keep it there anyways. I like how I have, man, I really can't speak today. I like to have display axis on. I don't know why, but like, it really shows where your camera's pointing on like the 3D axis, like the 3D plane you got going on here. And now, you may be like, why do I need to worry about what the 3D plane is, right? Well, it really comes down to like when you're working with the camera or with actual parts, like, believe it or not, these things, green, blue, red, they're colored that way on purpose. Blue is the Z. So if we were visually looking at it like a 2D plane, this is how it really looks like. This is the X, this is the Y, and this is the Z. Yeah. But that is it for this video. If you have any questions, make sure please comment if you have any questions. Actually, I recommend you to comment. Or if you want, you can actually message me on my Roblox profile, which I'll leave in the description if you guys want. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want me to make more videos on scripting tutorials, please also post that in the comments section below. And also, yeah, make sure to subscribe to me because I don't want you guys missing out on any new videos that I make. Because I don't think I'll just be making scripting tutorials. Because let's be honest here, there's more things I can do, like developing tutorials and marketing tutorials on how to market your game and how to get your game front page and stuff like that. Because I know everyone keeps asking about that, and everyone's always confused on how does this game have 15,000 players and how do you get a game front page, stuff like that. Yeah, if you subscribe to me, maybe I'll make a video on that. But yeah, so also put down in the comments below what video I should make next, like on what to code. I'm most likely gonna just keep going on with the basics first, and I'm just definitely gonna work my way up. But yeah, anyways, goodbye and good night.